Hello, Magic Makers. Welcome to Storytime with Mombierella. This is a young adult fiction and may be inappropriate for some younger audiences. Mother Knows Best. A Tale of the Old Witch by Serena Valentino. Copyright Disney Enterprises Incorporated, 2018. Chapter 22. Part 1. Which witch is which? Gothel woke up in an endless sea of yellow wildflowers with the odd sisters looking down on her. With their giant bulging bug eyes and goofy bird-like expressions, she hadn't noticed when they were talking earlier, but they somehow still managed to look young after all those years. Sure, they looked older than when they were girls together, but they looked so much younger than they actually were. She wondered if anyone would have guessed all of them were hundreds of years old. "You're looking quite young again yourself," said Lucinda, reading Gothel's mind and offering her hand to help Gothel to her feet. "Our time in the dead woods together as girls feels like a lifetime ago," said Martha. "Many lifetimes ago, actually," said Ruby. "It feels like yesterday to me," said Gothel. "And yet, since you've moved into this house, time seems to move slowly for you," said Lucinda. "Come on, let's go into our house. It's closer. You passed out after you drank your mother's blood," said Martha. "What house?" Gothel looked around, trying to find the house. The last time the odd sisters had visited, they spoke of the mysterious house, but she'd been too exhausted to remark that she didn't know what they were talking about. This time, it just seemed ridiculous, like everything else. Lost sisters, dragon fairy witches, invisible houses. She was at her wit's end with the sisters. "Calm yourself, Gothel, really, now, such uncharitable thoughts," said Ruby. "Our house is right there," said Lucinda, pointing at it as if Gothel were clearly out of her mind. "I don't see a house, Lucinda. You're always talking about a house, but I've never seen it." The odd sisters had worried looks on their faces. What is it?" "We're not sure," said Lucinda. "Come with us." They took Gothel by the hand and led her to their house, which was only a few feet away. From her pocket, Lucinda took a pouch that contained a powder the color of sapphires. "Here, put your hand out." Lucinda poured a bit of powder into Gothel's hand. "Now, blow it in that direction." When Gothel blew the powder into the air, the house started to materialize before her eyes. She couldn't help gasping at having the front door right before her nose. "Can anyone else see this house?" The odd sisters laughed. "No, just us and any other witches that may happen by. But I think Jacob chose this place for its lack of magical beings. I don't think we have to worry about any unwanted visitors knocking on our door." Gothel seemed to be taking something in. "So I'm not magical, am I?" she said as they walked into the odd sister's house. To the right was the living room, with a large fireplace flanked by two enormous black onyx ravens, and to the left was a cozy sunlit kitchen, with a black and white checkered floor and large round windows. The odd sisters gave her a sad look. "You still have the power of the Rapunzel flower," said Lucinda. They could see the endless wildflower field from the window. "Jacob chose a good hiding place for it here. I doubt anyone would find it even if they were looking for it." "Anyone can use the power of the Rapunzel flower. I'm not a witch. I'm not magical." "Maybe the blood just needs to take time to take effect," said Ruby. "Yes, Gothel, try not to worry. You're a witch in your heart," said Martha. "But I'm not. I'm not a witch. I'm not even queen of my lands. I have no lands. I have no sisters. I have nothing." "You have us," said Lucinda. She turned to Ruby and asked, "Will you make us some tea, dear? Gothel's very upset." "Yes, of course," said Ruby, rushing to the stove to put on the kettle and knocking a cake tin that was sitting on the counter onto the floor, making a terrible clamor. "Don't worry, the cake is fine." "Oh, good. I was really looking forward to having some cake," said Martha. Gothel shot them the evil eye. "Never mind the cake," she snapped. "Well, it really is very good cake. It's our friend's special walnut cake. She baked it for us," said Martha. Lucinda gave her sisters a look. "Stop talking about the cake! You're driving Gothel mad with all this cake talk." Then she took Gothel's hand in hers and said, "Don't you worry, Gothel. We consider you a sister. You know we do. It's not your fault you were denied your inheritance. It's not your fault your ancestors didn't pass down their powers and knowledge." "Do you really think of me as a sister?" asked Gothel. "We do," said Martha, looking at her sisters for reassurance. "Don't we, Ruby?" "Yes, of course we do,"
said Ruby, as she was nervously fumbling for a cup for Gothel's tea. Do you think there's some kind of spell you could do? Something that would really make us sisters? Something that would let me share your powers? Asked Gothel. She could only imagine how she looked to the sisters, sad and pathetic, pleading. She hated herself for even asking them. The sisters looked at each other nervously.
Oh, Gothel, I wish we could, but I'm afraid it's impossible,
they all said together. I see, she said, getting up from her seat and going to leave. No, really, Gothel, we just did a very powerful spell to bring our sister back. If we give too much of ourselves away, then we won't have... Wait. Where did you get that spell? Asked Gothel. What do you mean? Asked Lucinda, trying to sound innocent, though thoroughly convincing. You know exactly what I mean. You got it from one of my mother's books, didn't you? Yes, it's a variation of one of your mother's spells. I think you might find it very interesting, Gothel. If you would sit down and calm yourself, I will tell you about it. It concerns you, actually. I found it when we were looking for something to help your sisters. When we were in the dead woods. Your mother... I can't believe this. I may not be magical, but I'm not stupid. You didn't go to the dead woods to help me. You wanted my mother's magic. Gothel, please calm down. I'm getting the tea. Every conversation is better over tea, said Ruby, still fumbling in the cupboards for the teacups. Oh, and cake. Don't forget the cake, called Martha. Yes, cake. Let's slice the cake, said Ruby, clapping her hands, clearly very excited about the cake. Sisters, please stop with the cake, said Lucinda. Then patting Gothel's hand, she said, Gothel, listen to me. We told you we wanted to access your mother's books. We never kept that from you. What is this all about? Did you even give me my mother's blood? Gothel's entire face changed. She seemed more like a woman who should be the queen of the dead than the odd sisters had ever expected. A queen without her lands. What? Asked Lucinda, taking her hand off Gothel's like it hurt her to touch it. You heard me. Was that actually my mother's blood you gave me? Jacob warned me you would destroy the dead woods. He told me you would take everything from me. Of course that was your mother's blood, said Ruby, becoming hurt and angry. But Gothel wasn't listening. What really happened to the rest of my mother's blood? Did you take it? What am I thinking? Of course you did. How else would you have the power to bring your sister back? Gothel, that is enough. After everything we've done for you. This is how you treat us? Asked Lucinda. Ruby rushed over to Gothel, her hands trembling. Gothel, here, take this. Ruby handed her a cup of tea. You really need to calm down. You're starting to upset Lucinda. And look at Martha. She's ripping her dress. I'm not ripping my dress. You were just ripping yours, said Martha, her eyes wild. Gothel saw there was dirt caked under Ruby's nails when she handed Gothel her tea. Ruby, what's that? She tried to snatch Ruby's hand, but Ruby pulled it away too quickly. What's what? Asked Ruby, quickly putting her hands inside the pockets of her skirt. On your hands. What's that on your hands? Gothel demanded. Oh, I don't know. She shoved her hands deeper into her pockets. What's wrong with you, Gothel? You're acting deranged, Ruby said, backing away from Gothel. I think it's time we cut the cake. Take your hands out of your pockets right now. I want to see them, said Gothel, raising her voice and advancing on Ruby, causing her to back away again and knock into the kitchen counter. No, screamed Ruby. I won't. Stay away from me, Gothel. Ruby started to panic. Lucinda, calm her down. Get her away from me. Ruby ran to the big round window and covered her ears. Get her away from me. Get her away from me, she said it again and again, but Gothel didn't let Ruby's fit distract her. Let me see your hands, Gothel insisted. Ruby nervously looked from Gothel to Lucinda to Martha. Gothel, calm down right now, or Lucinda will put you to sleep. I'm warning you. Show me your hands, screamed Gothel. Her face was contorting with rage, frightening Martha, who was laughing nervously and trying her best to make light of the situation. Lucinda just stared at Gothel with a mixture of horror, resentment, and heartbreak on her face. Stop it, Gothel. You're ruining everything. How are we supposed to have cake and tea with you acting so hysterical? Asked Martha. Lucinda smiled. Go ahead, Ruby. Show her. She said it in a very serious, matter-of-fact tone, causing all the women in the room to stop their theatrics and turn their attention to her. Don't be nervous, dear. Gothel can't hurt you, she said reassuringly. After all, Gothel isn't even a witch.
Thank you so much for listening. Please remember, like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, share with a friend, comment down below. And remember, let it go and keep moving forward. Have a magical day. Bye.